What's good with the YouTube? Y'all already know Big Flocka with a convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through with that little bit of energy, man. Please hit the like and subscribe, man. Bell notification, comment, do all those things to help support the channel, man. As you already know, I'm gonna bring it to you guys, man. Straight fire content, man. Interesting day. Hope everybody's having a positive, productive day, man. Don't get discouraged, because it's real easy at times to let people try to discourage you, man. But you know what? We keep on doing what we do. And we're going to talk about the state and feds, right? I have an update. This is going to be a good one for you guys, man. And a lot of people are probably going to go, oh, current stuff. Hey, sometimes you're going to do what you're going to do, right? And I think that this kind of warrants kind of an update. I'm not going to go into too much of their details, their mass operations or anything like that, because that's not my business. But I will say that there's been communications that have started to be pick up between the state and feds, whereas about 6 months ago, people thought it was going to be a fucking dead end. There was a lot of stuff going on in the streets. There were certain people that were taking control of certain areas, vice versa, going back and forth, man. And right now, the state who has more control in California, let's just keep it real, based upon the fact that they're in the Department of Corrections in California, and they have more access to the streets. They, right now, have sent out certain directives on certain things, right? That the matter of jurisdiction, the state, which means brass and the Department of Corrections, right? They will run all activities in the streets of California. Anything outside that jurisdiction, Canada, Mexico, other states, the federal NF will be in control of this. Now, it's not supposed to be two different NFs, but it's just that that's going to be their jurisdiction because they're in the feds. So it's kind of like two entities, but they're not calling it that. The state, out of good faith and goodwill, cleared two names. Okay, these are two names that I particularly know, good individuals, right? Bubba from Salas and Wino from Salas. They were previously deemed no good for their loyalty to the feds. You know, there was a retort to the truth filter, right? Where their names was on that filter, deeming them no good. That was about a year and a half ago almost. Now they're being brought back by the state. So I don't know if that means that those are the ones that are communicating. I don't know. Those are both high-ranking individuals. But it seems like they still have that same energy towards, Corny and Skipper. They're not acknowledging, they're not hearing. But there's going to be those that are going to be loyal to them. And that's the thing that's going to be crazy about this is what is really going on out there in the streets. And what do I think? So it's hard for me to give you guys a honest perspective if I haven't been around what's been going on the last 10 years. One thing's to hear about it, but to be involved in it, see the filters, see what happens, the bad decisions, the good decisions. It's hard to sit there and assess and sit there and say, this is what I feel. And I try to put myself in the shoes back then and see how I would feel. And part of me thinks like, you know what, man, fuck that. There should never been no truths, this and that. But to be honest with you, I had to sit there and really take a step back and say, you know what? It's not what we were doing at that time became outdated. It became an old way of thinking. If it's all about this money, then it's a good decision. You know what I'm saying? Violence, wars, guerra is bad for business. It gets people slammed down, no visits. It gets the administration putting all their attention on you. Therefore, no one's making money. And right now, they're making more money at times in prison than they are in the streets. Now, as far as what my feeling may be, when I was a little bit more newer to this back then, I may have been fuck the piece. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. Let's go out there and get off. You know what I mean? But that doesn't solve anything, man. And I think that the gangbanging type of mentality is kind of not there no more. I think people are more in line with falling in place with the big homies out in the streets. See, when I was younger, or, as a young man, when you were out in the streets, the NF wasn't spoken about. The structure was very limitedly spoken about. They were looked at as big homies in the prison system. And the carnales, you wouldn't know what they were doing. So now people speak openly about them. They have relationships with them. And it's a new wave generation that has a way of having the youngsters gravitate towards them in their leadership. And that's why you're seeing the results you see. Now, over the last 3 years, I've heard all kinds of things. I've heard it's bad in the state, it's bad in the feds. feds, they got no hustle or nothing like that. Then I heard that they have Unity Day. It's going to be different wherever you go, and however leadership decides to lead its people. Back in the days, we used to have with our bonds a branching union, which meant each facility was supposed to basically work parallel, function under the same discipline, rules, and so forth. Now it's hard because you got people in the feds and the state, and I'm glad that for the most part, that most of these young Northerners, right, are not being involved in it. That's the one thing I addressed a long time ago, was for anybody that maybe had a platform like a rapper, out there in the hood streets, it's a regular Northerner, even an Soldado, don't get caught up in affairs that don't concern you. You know what I'm saying? Because the first thing that happens when people start to involve themselves in familia business, people get offended. And all this stuff is way above everybody's pay grade. And I found it kind of interesting, man, that the two Carnales that they brought back, I didn't see Powder's name. But like I said, Bubba's a good dude. Wino's a good dude. Wino's pretty sharp. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here on out. I think the NF needs to focus more on what they got going on the BOP as far as the federal side, because they've been moving them all over the place. They've been slamming them down, saying that none of them could be in Mendota no more, send them all the way down to Louisiana, all these different facilities, man, on purpose to try to curtail any type of communications. So it's been going on with the MS-13. They're being moved to different facilities. So it's kind of a total unpredictable circumstance. So it's much better for them to focus on what they got going on there, and with the new regiments, new manpower that they recruit. Now the state, that's hard to even say, because they still got the indictment, Operation Quiet Storm. And from my knowledge is those dudes are being acknowledged, but basically it's hot business. So there's already resumed a new leadership. I think before Mondo passed away, I think he was one of 4 high-ranking members they considered in the whole system. We know Silent would have been one, and there may be a couple others. So, yeah, that's your update, man. Not much more to add to this, besides the continuous path that they're trying to push, man. And at least they're communicating, man. And the reason why I say at least they're communicating is because anytime you have a power struggle, a civil war potentially that's brewing, a lot of people get caught up, man. Like I said, I'm not supportive nor against any of these organizations. I'm about helping people. But the last thing I want to see is a war on the streets based upon who's in control. And, it's happened before. Salinas was going at it. They were out there fucking shooting at each other, killing each other. This could have been a statewide thing, because both sides were basically preparing for war, man. And it's fortunate that communications are there and they're starting to move past it, man. So this is my only update on it. I don't want to give any more details of what I know. I may have a future one, a little bit more details in the future, but for now, this is it. Have a good one.